Gam Ganapataye Namaha. In this universe, in this earth, every human being seeks some expectations from others. It may be children, they may be children or elders, whomsoever it may be, even the devotees, whomsoever it may be, even disciples, whomsoever it may be, they seek some sort of expectations. Without expecting anything in return, we can't see the generous people nowadays. Life starts with expectation. Life ends with expectation. Wherever you see, the people always live on expecting something from others. This is a mode of life. Way of life had changed. Why? Because life is full of expectation in this earth. Therefore, we have to fulfill their expectations to conquer their hearts, to win their hearts. Even our mental peace also begins when expectation ends. Till that, one cannot get the peace of mind. The mind will be into pieces. But where should we expect? First of all, you have to expect from your loved ones. Expectation is one of the positive vibe. It is also negative vibe sometimes. Therefore, expectation should be limited. Expectation should be minimized. Should not be elaboratedly thinking to grab everything from others. Generally, everyone expects from others, but they never allow others to expect from him. Why? Because of selfishness. This type of attitude should be changed. Otherwise, life will become futile, meaningless. Whatever you gain, it will be useless. Therefore, one should concentrate more on one's expectation to be fulfilled on one's own efforts. So, basing on this, today I took the topic of life is full of expectations. Let us see in details. Prayer. Jnananandamayam devam nirmala spatikakritim adaram sarva vidyanam hayagrivam Children to adults all have expectations. List of children is always very long. When one expectation is over, another expectation creeps up and it won't be nil at all at any time till the death. Though a man's list of expectation is not so long, it won't be nil at all too. About a list of expectations of women, better it is not commented at all. Father has expectation from son. Similarly, son has expectation from his father. Wife is expectation from husband. Similarly, husband has expectation from his wife. Who has no expectation from who? Everyone has one or other expectation in life. It is difficult to lead life without expectations. At every stage of life, different expectations occupy a man. What a man's expectations are, what he is. Those who know a man know his expectations also. God knows devotees' expectations. Mother knows her children's expectation. Teacher knows students' expectation. And boss knows employees' expectations. If we know others' expectation, we can respond to their expectations. Responding to other expectations wherever they are reasonable and possible is really a great quality. Expectations activate a man. They don't allow him to keep quiet at all. They develop relationships and they break relationship also. Swami Chinmayananda says, peace begins when an expectation ends. You see? When a person satisfies what he possesses, that means without expecting anything from others, automatically he gets a peace of mind. Every expectation is a dream and every dream is an expectation only. In almost all fields, a man would have expectations. They are always hidden within him. Seldom they are expressed. They go round in his mind. No one or other occasion they came out or they come out. Expectations of one another seldom know. Though it's impossible to come up to everyone's expectation. Of course, he must not have too much of expectations anywhere at all. A man goes on expecting only of his expectations, one after another succeed. When everything goes on as per expectations, he would be more and more enthusiastic too. However, he forsakes expectations if his expectations one after another fail. It is not only a man has expectations, but also animals have expectations. Tiger and lion wait in the wings to pounce upon their prey. Man too always expects opportunities and waits to grab them in his life. Sometimes the expectations of a man are wrong. After all, man is a human being. In some instances, expectations would be waste of valuable time and energy. Even if hairs are turned grey, there would be no semblance of importance in a person. Expectations prompt one to undertake a work. Without expectation, nobody does work for nobody these days. That's why life is full of expectation. They comprise of expected and unexpected expectations. They include good and bad expectations. Expected and unexpected expectations teach us many lessons. Some people have more expectations and some people have less expectations based on their nature and situations they are placed in life. Expectations depend upon a man and his interests. They are spread over detection of talents and skills. Love and various other fields too. Optimistic would have more expectation and pessimistic have less expectation. But however, both are having expectations. It may be less or more. Expectations vary from man to man. What expectation when one would have it couldn't be made out unless they are expressed in words or deeds. They make future look bright and shining too. This is a tragedy of life. Everyone has high expectation from life. It is not wrong to expect, but too much of expectation spoils our peace. Our life goes on two rails which are already laid. Imagine a train with engine. It cannot move and travel as per the driver's wishes. It will be strictly within the two parallel rails, and many change of directions are made by the signaller at the railway signal cabin. Is it? Road travel is different. The driver can negotiate the bends and curves and choose his path amid the inbound and ongoing traffic. But human life is different. It has to move on the stipulated rails. One rail is cumulative effects of our past, and the other rail is morality. When we skip the rails, there is a mishap and danger, and follow the rules of living. Expectations are quite necessary and help a man to manage certain situations in life very well. Life moves forward with expectations only. Expectations give one a long rope. They give rise to hope, and hope gives rise to expectations. It is always better to expect anything more or anything before it happens. It is well said, prevention is always better than a cure. When enemy is there in vicinity, one can expect attack at any time. One who expects anything beforehand is said to have a foresight. Man must keep always his eyes and ears open. No doubt, expectations sometimes lead to disappointment. They come to one's rescue many a time too. Expectations are always reasonable. So, man must always think and use his scruples well before having an expectation without fail. Expectations are not fantasies. Expecting things accurately always needs knack and experience. All do not possess it. A man spares no efforts whatsoever to make expectations materialize, but that is not completely in his hands. It depends on many factors. Sometimes what takes place exceeds expectations. Sometimes what takes place would be as per expectations. And sometimes what takes place could be below expectations. Man must be always ready to accept whatever it is. Expectation is a vision, but reality is when it happens. Expectations, where they would materialize and where they won't materialize, it could not be said. Sometimes where we expect that don't materialize, and where are we don't expect they materialize. They spring surprises. They always need patience. They make one wait. They are bound by limits. One of the ways to get ready to an exam is expecting questions and be ready with the answers to them. Expectation is a human quality. What expectations are to be made and what expectations are not to be made, nobody knows perfectly. When expectations materialize, man becomes happy, and when they don't materialize, man becomes depressed. Man has major and minor expectations. He wakes up usually every morning with expectations and goes to bed happily if they become cool and real. All expectation need not become real to him. All expectations do not materialize also. It is enough for him if the majority of them materialize. An expectation is like a bird in the bush, and it is not like a bird on hand. It's a thought. It is a guess. It is not an art. It is an assumption. It is a tool. It may or may not take place. One cannot completely rely on it at all. Shakespeare rightly says, expectation is the root of all heart attack. One can have expectation only where they have immense faith. Anybody can have expectations. They must have a capability to enforce them. If performance is below expectation, it is condemned or rejected. Expectation can produce wonders. Expectation would never leave either human beings or world at all. One must be after expectation and should never leave it. Due to reality, persuasion and determination play a great role in the realization of an expectation. Peace begins when expectation ends. Life is first seen by elders. Hence, to help out their future generations, they give some quotes. These quotes are told from their experiences laid down by life. So, never underestimate their quotes. Someone elderly once said, expectations hurt. So never expect. In this world, we humans expect so much. We keep expecting way more than required. There is an endless expectation in one's mind. These are the means for a sorrow-filled life. When we tend to expect, we are often left with sadness. This sadness leads to a frustration, depression, loneliness, etc. Most of them come out into our life just to fulfill their goals. When they need, you have to minimize your expectation. So when you expect from them, they will never fulfill your expectation. Hence, expect nothing from anyone. Expect from your loved ones. That is not wrong. That is not wrong. How? Expectations are a part of life. It is important to expect something at least. We are not saints that we are never going to expect. Expect things like a smile from an old couple after you help them cross the road, hug from parents when you hand over your first salary, a baby jiggle after you embrace them, etc. These small things bring the world's happiness to you. These expectations are healthy and act as a smile maker. Expectation as a positive vibe. It's a human call to expect things in return. But it's healthier only till it's under the limit set by nature. At this point of time, we need to know what to expect and what not. It's important for us to know that expectations that bring joy to us are the ones which we generate a positive vibe within and around us. The tiny help that we owe to our near and dear ones and at times to a stranger are the ones which bring out a sense of satisfaction and a generation of humanity in one's self. These are the main causes for a positive vibe. When your expectations are right, then it's obvious the end results are always happiness. Let us have the view on expectation as a negative vibe. At times, there are moments where we cross the limit of set by nature. We expect way more than required. These expectations bring a deep cut in our hearts. When the cuts get too deep, there are chances we end up depressed, frustrated, betrayed, sick, etc. But there are certain situations where the person ends up their lives too. These are quite dangerous to a happy heart. Expectation can be horrendous. Life is not a part of expectation. Life is a God gifted, and expectations are just the smallest part of life. So try to build up a positive vibe instead of a negative one. To start with, one might think of ambition as a feeling that makes individuals believe that what they desire is something that they really want. But then this feeling can have both positive and negative effects on one's being. For me, ambition is more than just a feeling of desiring to achieve something. It calls for persistent efforts, dedication, and devotion towards desires. Without these, they are nothing less than a blissful illusion that we are carrying for ourselves. Usually, the individuals with such kind of ambitions, without or with less amount of efforts, are the ones who would face the dilemma of distinguishing between ambitions and peace. A person with ambitions would always feel zeal for doing something credible in every new day. Zeal to start every new day afresh, provided he or she has required willpower to excel and move forward. Today's world is an intensely competitive. Here it's difficult to think of a life without purpose, a life without ambitions. Ambitions are sometimes gives disappointment. Ambitions are something that make an individual work intensively or tirelessly towards achieving them. Yet one has to remember that achieving the desired results is never going to be an overnight task. Further, during the course of fulfilling ambitions, one is ought to face more failures than achieving the desired results, that is, expectations. These two things, failures and expectations, are basically responsible for the lack of peace that many people complain of. Talking about failures would never be able to defeat a person of what he or she truly deserves if the determination to succeed is strong enough. Failures are never going to be fatal, and this is one thing that an individual must keep in mind. Handling the failures in an effective way is what separates the successful individuals from the rest. Doing so, it's possible to be both persistent and at peace. While failures can disturb the person, it's important to relation the compare and psychological stability. About expectations. Well, expectations are an integral part of human nature, but the extent up to which we have them is something that we need to be quite disciplined way. Over expecting or under expecting both don't serve the purpose. Here, important is for a person to know himself. Knowing oneself or one's limitations or weaknesses is far more important than knowing the strengths. Have expectations but only to the extent up to which you are devoting yourself, up to which you have taken efforts. Maintaining the right balance in this regard is imperative. Not able to do so would be lead to subsequent aforesaid turbulence. Having ambitions is not bloody a thing at all. Yet to be the honest, one has to be very practical in having them. Ambitions that you cultivate after thorough understanding of the subject and of yourself are not something which you can blame for the peace that you are devoid of. We usually look for peace as something that we would get upon achieving, we would get succeeding. Again, peace is usually subjective. An individual might feel at ease by merely spending his time in sleeping. Peace is not merely a distant goal we seek, but a means by which we arrive at the goal. So far, achieving your ambitions at their full potent, it's important that you are at peace while achieving them. Foregoing the ambitions can never result in peace, for it could be scare of not achieving something that you possibly could have. One has to be loyal to oneself in whatsoever the endeavors he or she is getting involved. If the ambitions that he or she is perceiving, so long does an individual remain loyal, peace of mind is guaranteed. Expectations only lead to unhappiness, misunderstanding, and could even lead to mistrust and even hatred. When one have any expectation on another, there is always a possibility of the outcome being unexpected. Expectations, when unfulfilled, make the person sad, angry, and even cold, lead to a misunderstanding. But if there is no expectation on each other, then whatever the outcome, it will have no negative effect on the persons. If the person does anything without the other person expecting anything, it increases and it can be redeemed. Thus, the saying, peace begins when expectation ends. Peace has always been among humanity's highest values for say. Supreme consider peace at any price. The most disadvantageous of peace is better than the most. Peace is more important than all justice. I prefer the most unjust peace to the justest war that was ever waged. There never was a good war or bad peace. We agree little on what is peace. Perhaps the most popular view is as an absence of dissension, violence, or war, a meaning found in the New Testament and possibly an original meaning of the Greek word for peace. Pacifists have adopted this interpretation. For them, all violence is bad. This meaning is widely accepted among irenologists and students of international relations. It is a primary dictionary definition. Peace, however, is also seen as a concord or harmony and tranquility. It is viewed as a peace of mind or serenity, especially in the East. It is defined as state of law or civil government, a state of injustice or goodness, a balance or equilibrium of powers. Such meanings of peace function at different levels. Peace may be opposed to or an opposite of antagonistic conflict, violence or war. It may refer to an internal state or to external relations, or it may be narrow in conception, referring to specific relations in a particular situation like a peace treaty, or overarching, covering a whole society as in a world peace. Peace may be a dichotomy. It exists or it does not, or a continuous passive or adjective, empirical or abstract, descriptive or normative, or positive or negative. The problem is, of course, that peace derives meaning and qualities within a theory of framework. Socialist, fascist, and libertarian have different perspectives, as do power or idealistic theorists of international relations. In this diversity of meanings, peace is no different from such a concept as justice, freedom, equality, power, conflict, class, and indeed any other concept. Peace is thereby locked into a descriptive or explanatory view of our reality and each other enough. All concepts are defined within a theory or cognitive framework, what I have called elsewhere a perspective. Through a perspective, peace is endowed with meaning by being linked to other concepts within a particular perception of reality and by its relationship to ideas or assumptions about violence, history, divine grace, justice, etc. Shri Kantai Kalyan Nidhe Nidhetram Jive Ganravajaya Srinivasaya Mangalam Mangalasat Bhayavadacharya Prabhavai Sarve Chaurai Racharya Satkrutaya Samangalam.